Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Seeds of Life episode. Last week, we talked about symptoms and what's their value? What are they? Why are they there? What do we do about them? And one of the things that I wanted to get to, but didn't actually make it around to, was stress and that symptom of stress. What does it mean? How is it there? Why is it that whenever we have symptoms and we stress out about them, things actually get worse? And now, with everything going on in society right now, with this quote unquote pandemic that's happening, how we're making things much worse for ourselves by all the stress that we add onto this situation. So, first off, let's talk about, well, what is stress? All right. And why do we have it? So, stress is any sort of challenging situation, challenging experience, challenging force that comes in to our sphere that our body, our mind, our being need to, in a sense, balance out. So, stress can be seen as a destructive force coming in from one level. Okay. When we exercise, and all exercise is a stress, when we're weightlifting, what we're doing is we're actually tearing down our muscle fibers. And if our body's functional, it responds to that stress. It takes in that stress and it goes, okay, the stress is tearing me down. My response is I'm going to grow stronger so that if this stress comes again in the future, I'll be able to handle it without being torn down. So there's one way of looking at stress, which is this a destructive force or experience. There's another way of looking at stress, though, and it is the motivation or the inspirational force that causes growth and adaptation in our system. So astronauts that leave the stress of gravity, they have to work out extra in space because their musculoskeletal system, because it's not really being used under the weight of gravity, it starts to deteriorate. Now their immune system goes completely off track because for the most part, the space station is a sterile environment. There's not a lot of germs. See, this system that we're operating, this human machine, this meat suit that we are embodying for a short period of time, it's really, really smart. And if there is nothing that's causing this system to say, I need to continue to put energy into this part of me, if there's nothing that's causing this system to say, hey, my muscles, they need to get stronger, or I'm not really using them, then this system just goes, well, why am I going to waste the energy? I don't need to waste the energy. It wants to go towards efficiency. So without stress in our life, believe it or not, our body and our mind actually get weaker. They stop growing, they stop developing, and they start going to a lower level of functionality that requires less energy in order to maintain. So we can look at stress as a destructive force. We can look at stress as an opportunity. Okay. We can also look at stress as a gift. We get the opportunity. How amazing is it that we get to grow throughout life, that we get to go through this developmental process. And at every single stage or step of this developmental process, there's more to learn, there's more to understand, there's more that we can gather, there's more that we're going to be able to give and teach because of these experiences. So in our body, one of the main reasons that we have so much trouble with the concept of stress in our society, and so many people just want to get away from it, is because we do not embrace this life and death cycle, this developmental process where things come into existence and then they exit existence as they break down, all of their parts are recycled and used into something greater, into something more complex, into something that is of higher value, that is something that is built upon all of the things and the lessons learned from the past. So in our body, every 7 years, we have replaced just about every cell of our body. And when those cells cannot go through the normal dying process, which is called apoptosis, and the immune system cannot identify those and kill those cells off, this is actually the cause of cancer. Whenever our body cannot be recycled, whenever that birth and death cycle, whenever it's inhibited in the death cycle, when we don't value the death cycle, we don't value the breakdown cycle, we push ourselves into a functionality that we call cancer, which is one of the main killers in our society today. So embracing stress, embracing it as an opportunity or as a gift allows us to go through the growth process even more efficiently. Rejecting stress, rejecting the death process, rejecting the breakdown process actually inhibits new life from coming in. So how does this relate to what's going on in society right now? Well, let me ask you this question. How are you perceiving this pandemic that's coming in, that we're all experiencing right now? Is it an opportunity? Is it something that you are expending a lot of energy trying to keep things the same, trying to prevent the breakdown of society, to prevent the breakdown of your body? Or are you looking at this as an opportunity for growth? Are you embracing the fact that certain things in our lives, certain things in our society, certain things in ourselves and our bodies need to die? They need to be broken down. They are not working anymore. And now is the time, if they can crumble, and they can crumble with us looking towards how can we make the most? How can we build a system? How can we build a life? How can we build a society that makes the old one obsolete? Whatever we resist persists. So if we're resisting the change right now, it's going to hit us hard and it's going to be very destructive. If we embrace the change opportunity, if we look for the gifts, if we jump head first into the growth, into the building process, then guess what? We can make this a joyous transition. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And if there's one thing that I'm hoping you'll take away from this, is that stress is a good thing. The only thing that determines whether a stress will break you down, called distress, or whether you will grow stronger, called eustress, the only difference between those two types of stress is you and what you're committed to, how much energy and information you have readily at your disposal in order to direct your focused, conscious intention. I love you, and we'll see you next week.